As promised, I've gone through your guys' comments over the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, most of them over the last 4 or 5 days, and I've pulled the best stuff. And let's take a look at what you had to say and what some of your questions were. And I'll do my best to respond to each of these. So let's start with this morning. In this morning's video with Larry Goldberg, we asked the question, what do we count now if the future of Tesla is about AI and robotics as opposed to auto unit volume and margins? And, it's a big deal. I've spent how many hours over the last year producing spreadsheets and showing you what I thought auto volumes were going to be, what I thought margins were going to be, what I thought earnings were going to be. And you may have noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but on X, if you're following other YouTubers, those numbers are becoming less and less important. People are paying a lot less attention to them now than they were. And why is that? That's because the robotic thing is so much bigger than the automobiles themselves. Now, I will still be doing that, and I will be giving you some updates here coming in June as we get closer and closer to the end of the quarter, but it just isn't as important as it was a year ago. All right, so this question came up. This is from my Limo Melbourne 4757. I'm assuming this guy is from Australia. He says we should be counting battery energy density along with both AI development. So he says this is the fundamental coming together Elon have all been waiting for many years, and it's finally being released. Okay, so on the one hand, I really agree with them. I don't know, some of you may have heard me say this before. I read a quote, I want to say it was 30, 40 years ago by somebody that I cannot find the source for. And what he said was the person in the future who controls the batteries will be the person who's at the top of the heap in terms of the most financially successful. Well, that certainly turned out to be prophetic, and I think that will continue to be very, very important. Even as AI becomes more and more important, I think again, embodied AI is the future. And what does embodied AI going to require? It's going to require batteries. And so Elon has made some wise decisions in terms of where he's placed himself as the leader in the battery world and the leader in the AI world, and those two coming together. So I think you got it right, my Limo Melbourne. All right. This from Colin Kaiser 7353, who has been a constant commenter for almost the whole time I've been doing this. He says, we hear a lot about what is on Elon's mind. I wonder how much of his confidence in future direction to take Tesla, the direction he's going to take Tesla, is built on his perception of what's on his many capable engineers' minds, or the techs, the administrators, the operators, and others who make magic happen, not just at Tesla, but at SpaceX, the Boring Company, Neuralink, etc. They all seem committed to building and expanding the world of tomorrow far greater than the brief glimpses Disney and other visionaries shared with us so many years ago. This may be the greatest gift of all that Elon gives us, an effective model for actualizing and implementing the future that we want. So I could probably spend an entire program digging into what this particular comment is talking about, Colin is talking about. So on the one hand, many of you are probably entrepreneurs also. Maybe some of you think of yourself as futurists. Maybe some of you think of yourselves as people who kind of are always trying to visualize where the future is going to be. I repeatedly say that while I consider myself to be in that camp, not anywhere close to Elon's level, not even, it's like this little guy. Anyway, but I think I can give a little more of a closer look at what might be going on in Elon's mind in this regard. And I would say it's all of the above. It is all of the reading that he's done, for his entire life. It's all the movies he's watched. It is all the friends he's had that have, come into his life and impacted him. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that curiosity, that burning curiosity about how things could be better, seeing things that aren't working, that don't work as well as you'd like them to, that you think there's ways that it can be, things that can be done to make them work better, and then visualizing that, actually going to work, actually doing the work and saying, okay, 100 years, 1,000 years ago, I was in the padlock business, and I was constantly looking at the padlocks that we were selling and other people were selling and saying, okay, here's the vulnerability. You can use a bolt cutter. You can use a pry bar. You can use something to break into this. Maybe the way that the key works is vulnerable. You can pull the entire key cylinder out, or you can go in and you can pick it. So how can you redesign it, redevelop it in order to get rid of those vulnerabilities while still making it useful in ways that people want to use the particular product? So then you go beyond that and you look into the future and you say, what kind of future applications are there going to be for those padlocks, or whatever it happens to be? In this case, cars or energy storage or energy production. And you look into the future and you say, okay, these are some of the ways that we could even go further in terms of not just changing the way that the key works, but maybe you completely change it to some kind of electronic keying system, even on padlocks. That's how I think you get the point. So this futurism is, and that all comes from 100% of every resource that you've ever had in your life, but then it's the digging after that's also part of it. Part of it is, okay, I've got the thread of an idea. How far am I going to go in the research? Some people only read the headlines. Some people read the whole article. Some people only look at the first 3 Google responses. Some people look at the whole first page on Google responses. But the person who's really trying to get into what's going on not only reads the headlines and the whole article, they go 2, 3, 5, 10 pages deep on Google responses. And then once they get into those Google responses, they're looking for citations that can take them deeper and deeper and deeper. That's the kind of stuff that I do for you guys every single day. That's the way that this program comes together, is I'm doing that kind of in-depth analysis in order to bring you something that is hopefully better than the competition and more and work that you don't therefore need to do for yourself in this category. Maybe you're doing exactly that work for categories that are more important to how you make a living. Anyway, I hope that answers the question. I think that Elon is bringing us such a long list of gifts. There was one this morning again that just came up in terms of what's happening with the Starlink. Starlink, is going to be bringing knowledge and education and capabilities in terms of learning and in terms of doing commerce to the 1/3 of the world that doesn't currently have any way to get on the internet, and it's going to rise. It's going to raise all boats. It's going to contribute to improved literacy, improved capabilities, improved standard of livings all around the world. Starlink, just Starlink itself. Never mind all the other things that Elon's doing. All right. This is from Jordan Vander Schouw, SCHOUW 75. He says, hey, Randy, what's your take on the groundbreaking technology's effect on the stock during a recession? Could full self-driving possibly keep Tesla from taking a downturn with the rest? With that and the fact that they're at less than half of their all-time high, I wonder if there's a chance they could at least stay close to flat. Thank you. All right, so what I would say is, yes, absolutely. In my experience, if you've got a hit during a recession, that is going to be such a fantastic help to get you through. Again, some of you who listen all the time may have heard me say that I've always been in seasonal businesses. So we were always trying to, and the season was almost always the same. It was March to maybe October. So from November to February, we were dead. So we would introduce new products every October, November, so that the distribution or getting all of that new product into distribution would help to fill up our sales during the off season. So that was one way to deal with that. So yes, absolutely same idea. If Tesla is able to, if FSD rolls out over these next 6 months and actually starts to become a thing, if FSD is complete and people can truly see it as a chauffeur, where they can literally go to sleep, do work while they're going to work, then yes, I think that will increase car sales and increase FSD sales. And all of those things could not only keep the company flat in terms of sales as opposed to going down during a recession, but could actually increase sales above last year's numbers substantially and also take the stock to, much higher levels. And of course, if the bot comes out, it's over. So, so yes, all right. So this is from Richard Locke, L-O-C-K-E 7264. He says, why vote to dilute my shares? Elon's firing the whole Charger group confirmed my belief that Tesla needs an adult. Checks and balances on Elon are required. Okay, so number one, I spent some time speaking to this a couple of 3 days ago and did some quoting of some other folks like the All In podcast. Once in a while, you got to shake up the troops. You get people to get complacent, especially in startup companies. You get to a certain level where the company starts to become complacent, where people within the company start to become complacent. I think Elon saw that division, which remember, it's going to be like 2% of sales in 5 years. It's going to be like 2% of the company at the most, probably. He's seeing this division just kind of lackadaisical, not paying attention, way overstaffed, way too many people. And he said, you know what? He's going to do a Twitter. That's what he basically did. I'm going to do a Twitter to the charging group division. So the supercharger division. So I think it was a fine decision. So I don't think that he needs an adult. And I do think that voting to dilute your shares, I've put this on X the other day, you made a deal. Well, we made a deal as shareholders. So I wasn't a shareholder back in 2018 yet. But in 2018, whoever was shareholders at the time made a deal with Elon. They said, here's what we're going to do. And Elon took the deal, didn't get paid, did it all based on, can you imagine? You go to work for a company. I went to work for a company that, the first real job that I had lots and lots of jobs, but the first real job I had as a sales and marketing manager of that padlock import firm. And I said, hey, I'd like to have this much, say $1,000 a month and a 1% commission. And the owner said, well, I think you'd be way better off. Take $500 a month guarantee and a 2% commission. And so I took that. Now, can you imagine if all of a sudden some judge 5 years later said, oh yeah, that 2% commission, that wasn't fair. And I don't know what was fair, but 2% wasn't fair. So we're just going to throw the entire thing out, and all the money that you made, you have to give back or something like that. So no, we made a deal with Elon. Keep the deal. Vote yes. All right. This is from Mr. Ed 2291. He says, voting against board recommendation puts no checks and balances on Elon. It just reduces the value of Tesla stock. Oh, I think he just basically said what the other guy said. I've already, asked and answered. Jeff Maynard 3836, it says, 3836, if Elon leaves Tesla, watch the damage your stocks take and the future growth damage when someone else takes over. Again, the other day I addressed this. I do believe that if Elon leaves Tesla and leaves a solid citizen in charge, I don't think there'll be a tremendous long-term damage to the stock. I think it'll be like an Apple, as long as you get the right person in there. Got to get a really solid person in there. But entrepreneurial companies who are taken over by managers commonly do very, very well for decades into the future. It's not uncommon at all to see that. And so that's a very high possibility. On the other side of the coin, you're not going to get this excitement. You're not going to get this explosive potential. And that's what we get with Elon. And that's why we want Elon to stay. All right. Chris M752 says, would you be okay with working for 5 years without any pay? I think I just responded to that. And then somebody, this is finding reason for life. And that's a letter, the number 4, finding reason, number 4, life. He says, working 100+ hour weeks. Yes. Well, okay. We get it. Okay. Mega Wilderness, who's a very common commenter. Thank you, Mega Wilderness, for being on so much and giving me ideas. He says, at Chris M752, he's responding to him. He says, Elon has already cashed in $40 billion. He's had more than a lifetime's worth of pay. Well, there is no doubt about that, Mega Wilderness. This is a absolutely wrong way to evaluate anything. This is what the judge did. You already know, I think, my opinion on it, Mega Wilderness, but I'm just going to say it again. This is the deal that was made. The deal was made. Elon didn't have, he had plenty of opportunities. He could have started 20 other companies are taking his marbles and gone home in 2018. And he could have said, hey, the board could have said, look, we want to pay you 500 million a year, $700 million a year. I mean, look what baseball players are getting these days. We could have paid you a lot of money per year on a guaranteed basis and given you some bonus on top of that. But Elon and the board decided to do it on an all or nothing basis, Mega Wilderness. I mean, that's a pretty big bet on the part of Elon for somebody who has the capability to have gone out and done whatever the heck he wanted. So it's no different. Everybody gets this idea that these numbers are just crazy, and these numbers, yeah, they are crazy, okay? But so are the numbers for baseball stars. So are the numbers for movie stars. This guy is making a massive contribution to your stock value, and he's making a massive contribution to the planet and to the people on it, and he should be paid. That's the deal that we made. S. Sam Peterson, or SN, I know it's SSAN and then Peterson, says, I would say do some research, but I realize that wouldn't make a difference. When a decision is justified by emotion, no amount of research will help. So I guess he's responding to Mega Wilderness and some of these others. Mega Wilderness says, in response to Peterson, he says, no need for research. He's as bad as Trump. Oh, okay. Trump, he also, for his entire life, people say, oh, well, he had, his dad's millions before he started, so, he didn't do anything. Well, okay. I know a lot of people. I remember Eddie Schwinn in the bicycle business. Sorry, Eddie, but Eddie took that phenomenal business and destroyed it in no time, bankrupted it twice, costing me money. So listen, all I can say, Mega Wilderness, is if he's as bad as Trump, no, I would say Trump is amazing and flawed. Let me say it out loud so everybody can hear it really, really clearly. Trump is a flawed individual. Elon Musk is a flawed individual. I do not applaud Elon Musk's having 11 children with 5 different baby mamas or whatever the heck it is. I don't applaud some of the things that he said, on Twitter over the years. I don't applaud some of the actions that he's taken, at all. Okay, and sometimes even in the business world, I'll say, how come he doesn't hire a national sales manager, a vice president of sales, to get out there and make things happen? So he's a flawed guy, and Trump is a flawed guy. There's the list is long of the things that I wouldn't agree. In fact, Trump was my last choice in the 2016 Republican primary. As every people get eliminated, I would start preferring the next guy and the next guy and the next guy compared to Trump. But once he was in office, once he showed what he could do actually running the country, my opinion changed immediately. And now, he's a guy that says, this is my vision. Here it is, guys. Here's my vision. Here's what I plan to do. Then he goes into office and then he executes. That's my kind of leader. That's how Trump is. That's how Musk is. That's why I like Musk. So I don't know, Mega Wilderness. Okay, let's go on to Richard Locke 7264. Chris M 752. He says he owns 13% of the company. He's one of the richest men in the world. If the company does well, he is well compensated. Doesn't matter. A deal is a deal. A contract is a contract. What is wrong with everybody? I can't imagine that that Richard Locke and that Mega Wilderness and some of these other guys would feel the same if this happened to them. If you went to work for somebody and you put it, even if it was only 40 hours, and at the end of 40 hours, the guy goes, oh, sorry, not going to pay you after all. You'd be like, what? I mean, like, what if you were super, super rich? You were worth, let's just say worth 20 million, just 20 million. Nobody needs more than 20 million. I'll agree with that. How do you spend more than $300,000 or $400,000 a year? At a certain point, the extra money is just going for ridiculously overpriced meals or ridiculously overpriced trips, or it's going for rubies and diamonds and more land. I mean, it's just, you can only spend so much money. I've had the opportunity, as many of you had, to pretty much make as much as I needed to have all the luxuries I cared about. All right, so you're making $500,000 a year, and you've got 10 million in the bank, 20 million in the bank. I don't care, pick a number. and you get hired. And somebody says, I'm going to pay you $500,000 to do this job for a year, but I got to pay you at the end. And then you get to the end. The guy goes, you're rich. You don't need it. Yeah, whatever. Come on, you know what you'd say. Oh my goodness. Okay, Richard Luck also says, responding to Reasons for Life, he says he's not all for Tesla, so whatever. Okay, Chris responds to Richard Luck. The pay deal was approved. He met all the conditions. The media thought these targets would not be achievable, but they did it early. He did what people thought couldn't be done, and the deal was taken off the table by the judge. This is something that I would expect to see in China, not in the US. He didn't have the wealth he has now when the deal was agreed to. People who voted against this are slimy backstabbers with no honor of a deal. A handshake is a handshake where I come from. A deal is a deal. You don't weasel out of the deal because you think the other person's got money or for any other reason. He goes on. That was me in between. We shareholders made a contract with Elon. In my world, maybe not yours. Oh, this was actually me speaking. This is my response to that. We shareholders made a contract with Elon. In my world, maybe not yours. Your word is your bond. A deal's a deal. The judge, based on my legal education and my analysis, reading the entire decision, made one of the most horrifically reasoned decisions I've ever seen. We shareholders now owe Elon the money. Otherwise, we've unjustly enriched ourselves. We've unjustly enriched ourselves at his expense. If you think it's okay because he's rich, then that's your ethics, not my ethics. Okay, what about concerns that fingers are being harmed by closing trunk lids on them? So this is from No Left Turns again. It says, he's responding to Ian Howard's 316. I asked AI, and it occurs that a software update has been issued to reduce the problem. The video I watched was from this morning, and it still chopped 1.5-inch carrots off without a problem. So I don't know if that particular video was shot prior to the the over-the-air updates being made, but there's is anything I've seen is that, of course, you can still get your fingers hurt depending on where you put it, with the amount of leverage, with the amount of angle, et cetera, et cetera. It's possible some guy broke his fingers, actually broke his fingers, but he put them way up high. Anyway, we used to, again, I started to keep bringing up the padlock business. At least I'm not talking about water bottles, right? But in the padlock business, we used to say, show me the security situation exactly, and I'll show you how to secure it. But if I got this one padlock, it's not going to be the greatest solution for every single situation. Same thing, if you think people are going to put their fingers in way up here for some reason, then I'll find a way to solve that. But most people are going to only going to have their fingers anywhere related to the lid coming down, somewhere in the front of where the lid comes down. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop on that. Okay, let's go here. Michael J. Mobley says, yeah, what a weak economy. The Dow and the S&P 500 reaches a new record today, record unemployment. I guess you want Trump to be president. You have to try to convince yourself that the economy is weak. No, I don't have to convince myself that the economy is weak. The economy was hit its apex third quarter, 5% increase over the previous year or previous quarter. And the next quarter, it dropped down to 3.2. First quarter, it dropped down, I forget, less than that, 2 point something. Right now, most people are thinking that the second quarter is going to be lower than that. And then I think that the third quarter, not now, the third quarter will be either flat or possibly go negative. The fourth quarter will either be flat or possibly go negative. Now, that doesn't mean that thousands and millions of people are going to be laid off. It's not 2008. It's not even 2000. So no, the economy is weak. This is not a great economy. A lot of companies, not a lot of companies. 6 companies are making lots and lots of money. The rest of the S&P 500, not so much. Or have you noticed that part? Anyway, yeah, the economy's fine. I have nothing negative to say about the current economy. Now, there is recessions in a lot of sectors of the economy also. I'm sure you're aware of that, Mr. Mobley. The housing sector is tremendously impacted right now. Negative. The industry that I was in for all those years, the bicycle industry, not good. So it's an example of those durable goods, those where you can decide yes or no whether you actually need another bike right now, doing terrible. Auto industry doesn't look like they're going to do really, really good. Pick your industry. It's been kind of a roving, and again, I'm not necessarily blaming Joe Biden for all of it. A lot of it has to do with the boom bust that came out of this COVID-19. However, having said that, I think it's okay to say you overstimulated. You did too much. You took on too much debt. We have too much debt as a country. It's going to come up to bite us. Don't you believe that? Please let me know, Michael J. Mobley. Do you think that this indebtedness that we have now is something that needs to be addressed? Okay, Peter Denham 9510 says, great channel. All this nice talking and hype is good. But in my opinion, actually delivering revenue and earnings growth is better than Tesla headquarters talking all the time about full self-driving and robotaxi. Okay. Peter, thank you so much for the compliment. I appreciate you. Listen, it's a good idea to be able to deliver great earnings. It's a good idea to be able to hit the numbers out of the park in terms of unit sales. It is hard to continue to get the kind of increases. 50% per year is crazy. The 50% per year, 2001 over 2000, 2002, 2003, now 2004, not going to make it. Okay. It's really hard to keep doing that year after year after year. Sometimes it's backbreaking for a company. Again, I've had that experience. I had a 400% growth year one year, and we decided as a company not to even try to do that 2 years in a row. So you got to really take into consideration what's realistic. Now, the numbers are still very strong. The earnings are extremely strong. The cash flow is unbelievable. The amount of money that's going into R&D is fantastic. The management of the company is amazing. Now, would we like it to be better? And is the only way the stock's going to go up is if it's better? But are you in for a short term? You're in for the long term. If you're in for the long term, we want to talk about full self-driving, robotaxi, and Optimus. That is the long-term play. That's what's going to get the stock to 10 times where we are today. All right, Slower Cuber 7767, 2 days says here, opinion, not advice. Expected near-term growth from cars and energy solutions alone probably would not justify even the current Tesla price. Autonomy, FSD, Cybercab, and Optimus prospects over the next 2 to 5 years make the current price a bargain. In 10 years, who knows? Out of the park, Slower Cuber 7767. You hit it on the nose. As Larry said this morning on the show, there's no doubt in his mind that a portion of the current price takes into consideration and fully FSD complete, robotaxi, Cybercab, Optimus, all the rest of the stuff. Okay. From Plebius, Slower Cuber 7767. How would it? Is a car manufacturer that sells less than the majority of car manufacturers and has a much higher stock price. The Cybertruck has been an unmitigated disaster. Its earnings to share price is way out of whack when compared to other car manufacturers. I fear for anyone who has tied their financial future to that stock. Only invest in the stock if you can afford to lose. Okay, not a financial advice. Only invest in any stock if you can afford to lose, and especially Tesla. Okay. It is a volatile stock. I invest in Tesla partially because it's volatile. I do leaps because volatility is great for leaps. I made a huge amount of money in 2021 because of the volatility. Okay. So, it's a car manufacturer, but Elon Musk has already told you it's no longer a car manufacturer in terms of its mission statement. Its mission statement is, it is an AI company specializing in robotics. If that's not the company you want to be invested in, don't be invested in it. Do not invest in, not investment advice. Randy Kirk says, in his personal opinion, for his own personal use, you don't want to be invested in Tesla today if you're invested in it because it's a car company, because that's not what it is. That's just me, okay? Sustainability theory 5154, tariffs are the only legal way the government has to raise funds. According to the Constitution, we should have a lot more tariffs and eliminate the income tax / theft of American labor. Well, I'm okay with getting rid of the income tax. I'm okay with having tariffs. I think, I haven't, it's been a long time since I really did a study of this. My main thing would be, let's get rid of the spending. Let's privatize. Let's take Argentina's approach and let's throw out a lot of these government employees. When I was a young guy, when I was growing up, when I was in my teens and 20s, the whole idea was you went out and you got a great job in corporate America, and that's how you would really do well at the end. Or you started your own business and that's how you were going to do well in the end. Or, you got a profession like a lawyer, CPA, etc., and that's how you would do well at the end. As of today, the people that are doing the best are the government employees with their massive pensions, with their double dipping, with their 20 years and out. That's not, I don't think that's the right answer. So hey, let's get rid of the government. And then if we still need, if we can't still make if we still don't have enough money to pay for the military and the things we really need in the government, then let's talk about tariffs. Let's talk about other ways to raise the money. But we also live in a very, very interesting world today where, people who used to be only reachable by ship and land over 2 or 3 weeks are now reachable by a phone call, a free phone call in a second. And basically you can be anywhere on the planet in less than 24 hours. So, well, okay, not the Amazon jungle. Hello, Lex Friedman. I hope you're having a great time. I hope you had a great time. Anyway, okay, so yeah, the tariff thing is way more complex than that. I think you'd agree with me. Sustainability theory 5154. Okay, Fractal Elf 7760 says, it is not third world. If you don't think the undercutting and loss of the U.S. middle class doesn't have something to do with the cheap outside labor producing things, I don't know how else to explain it to you. We need manufacturing here, not in China. I'm a manufacturer, okay, 30 years. I'm 100% about manufacturing, 100% love to have products made in America. It doesn't always work that way. I mean, England became a mercantile country, 100 years before the U.S. became a mercantile country. Why? Because what happens is that the wealthy people in that country no longer want to do the dirty jobs. It's as simple as that. There's a dirty job theory. Look it up. I think you can find it. If you Google it, dirty job theory. And right now, even Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, all those countries, they don't want to do the dirty jobs anymore. That's why China, Cambodia, etc., they're getting the dirty jobs now, but those countries are getting richer and richer. They're not going to want to do the dirty jobs anymore either. So now China is already looking at South America, Mexico, Africa as the next place to get the dirty jobs done. That's how the way the world works. It's not that anyway, enough said. I could spend another hour on that. Okay, let's see here. We've got, this is Tatata 1543 responding to SD Price, or alternatively, Hyperloop is nonsense. Manned missions to Mars in 2024 isn't happening. They won't build 50,000 semis in 2024. FSD won't drive your car from New York City to LA on its own. FSD won't happen next year. Roadster won't go into production soon. Solar cells as roof tiles won't happen. He makes these grand claims all the time, which turn out to be total BS. Problem is, he doesn't do it so much more and more and more. Problem is, I don't know. People won't believe him anymore. Okay, so it's part of the game, buddy. If you're going to be a futurist, and if you're going to have product ideas like 20 a day, I know all about this. If you're going to be always having new ideas and new approaches and new things that you want to do, I have started over 40 companies in my life and written 13 books. I have an idea a day. I have an idea every other day. Even at my age, I continue to have new ideas of companies I'd like to start or things I'd like to do. Even different YouTube video channels I'd like to start. I had another idea for that a couple of days ago. I'm not going to do it because when the ideas just keep flowing and flowing and flowing, you go out there and you start talking about them and you want them to happen. And not all of them are going to mature. It's just not going to happen. And they're not going to mature as fast as everybody wants them to. It's just not going to happen. But it doesn't mean he's lying. It doesn't mean that he's cheating anybody. He's just telling you, hey, this is my next great idea. And as he puts it, he is an absolute optimist. And there's a negative side to that optimism. I'll tell you all about it in another video. He goes on to say, is this him or somebody else? Trump comments are buffoonery. I appreciate your knowledge and wisdom on a lot of things, but your insistence on making Trump look like a reasonable leader is just nonsense. I will be following you less and less, and the more you insist on talking about how great Trump is, or talking about Trump as the next president. I'm sorry. I'm going to bring up Trump when it fits the context. I'm going to bring up Biden when it fits the context. I am going to try to be neutral in my analysis of them for the context of what we're talking about. But I'm a Trump guy. Okay. There it is. I'm a Trump guy. I already explained it up above. Don't need to explain it anymore. I'm not going to turn this into a political channel. I'm not going to sit here trying to convince you to vote for Trump. That's not my job here. My job here is to talk about Tesla and the economy and the stock market. But how can you talk about the economy without talking about who's going to be the next president? That'd be crazy. Same thing with religion. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a minute. David Will 1320 says, Randy keeps adding politics into his videos. Not a good look. No doubt religion will be next. Yep, probably will be. He says, this is now Dan Hall 4293 says, he also ignores Trump's promises to kill EVs. Absolutely not. I think that the Republican Party is completely and totally wrong to talk about EVs in the way that they do, to talk about the revolution to go electrified. I think that the Republican Party is way off. I think that people that I really admire, like Peterson and others, they're completely wrong. It's just nonsense. I kind of understand where they're coming from. Some of these people have a lot of oil history, especially the Western Canadians. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to try my best to be neutral. Two commenters also say they've stopped following me due to my taking a stand on religious issues on X. So I doubled down on that today. X is a completely different thing than this. I will spend a lot of time talking about religion on X. If you don't like it, you don't have to follow me. You don't have to follow me on X. Maybe you want to follow me here and you don't want to follow me there. That's fine. So I will bring up religion here. The only time I'm going to bring up religion here is 2 times a year. I think it's Christmas and Easter. And I bring it up at the end of the show or as a completely separate show. And I make it very, very clear that that's what I'm going to do. Otherwise, I'm not going to bring up the religion on this channel because that's not what this channel's for. Okay. And so I hope that's helpful. Hope that explains things. If you'd like to hit the like button and you'd like to subscribe and you'd like to hit notify, we'll have the regular programming starting tonight. We will have our regular Sunday night program where I talk about all the things that are happening next week. Not a really busy week, but there's stuff to talk about. And then starting tomorrow morning, the regular shows, Brian White in the middle of the day, regular after the bell, everything normal going forward. And if you missed the show this morning with Larry Goldberg, you missed a golden show. So go back and take a look at that one. I will put the card right here. And okay, that's it for now. It's been great talking to you.